Right. The boss is done and we have the speed boost from this game at the moment. So let's get things rolling and get out of this room so we can use this to get the Aurora unit. Is it a good or bad thing that I'm spinning in the opposite direction as the electrical things are spinning around? Granted, it doesn't actually matter, but considering how precise the motion control things are in this game, I'm oddly disappointed they aren't more strict what direction we need to boost in order to get that sort of thing moving. I just find it a bit arbitrary that the game is willing to let us do whatever to activate something, and in other instances want us to be annoyingly precise. And here come the floating drones again. It's funny how I don't have much of an issue with blasting through forgettable enemies in the 2D Metroids, but in the 3D ones it gets tiring in a hurry. Is that a side effect of the Prime games being slower paced due to how much longer they generally are? The sheer durability of many of the forgettable recurring foes in the 3D part of the franchise? Or is there some other reason I can't think of for the moment? Great. It hasn't even been that long, and I already forgot how we're supposed to go down from here. How the hell did I manage to forget how we got up here in the first place? This was the same bit of raw footage, which means it was the same recording session. I won't give myself a break until I get to the next save point. I managed to retrace our steps and get this far back. Now I'm going to have to figure out how we're supposed to get across a currently non-existent bridge. I know the speed booster is the solution, I just find it helpful to know where to apply that solution before we get there. I suppose I could have destroyed those drones with more conventional fire instead of using the grapple beam that I've gotten a bit sick of. They aren't immune to conventional fire, but that's assuming that shooting them down more conventionally would be more entertaining. Yeesh, I'm really in a bad mood if I'm saying combat in general in this game is not all that entertaining for me this soon after a boss fight. My only real complaints about combat in the first Metroid Prime, for the most part, were how easy things were before we got to the endgame, with the notable exception of when we had to fight against that rock golem thing that had the bullshit rolling attack. In Prime 2, I complained about how they handled healing when they also had the toxic dark aether atmosphere, and that some of the bosses weren't properly balanced. The combat system in general for both those games was fun. It just wasn't really using those systems to the best of its ability all the time. But for some reason, the combat system for this game just has me groaning that it's a necessary part of things. Not that it's a fun part of the equation, just how much of that is being affected by my feeling of how annoying it is to emulate motion controls, and how much are legitimate complaints about the game itself. I honestly can't tell, and that's probably a sign I should stop bitching about that. Because if the primary detail that's making me detest the gimmicky gameplay in this game is the fact that I'm not playing it on its intended system with its distinctive control scheme, then that is entirely a me problem. Just like it's a me problem that I somehow managed to turn myself around and lose track of where we're supposed to go, when the map is about as uncomplicated as it gets around here. It's not like we have to worry about multiple elevations and trying to get a good angle to see the door, where it goes and how to get to it. If anything, that's one bit I appreciate with the more simplified maps we've been running through in Metroid Prime 3. No need to fiddle around with the oddly thought out three-dimensional maps we're supposed to read if things are this damn straightforward. Okay, take a left at the fork where Gore's mech is sitting around. Simple enough to remember, but I'm also so far into the pattern of going on autopilot around here that even the most memorable needs to be jogged in my damn head. Really feels more like a me problem than a Metroid Prime 3 problem. Though I do kind of have an issue with the momentary third-person view whenever Samus is climbing something here. Do we really need a very quick change in camera perspectives just to show the main character using one hand to pull herself up, and then back to the standard first-person camera? Because I'm pretty sure just seeing her non-canon arm reaching out and pulling from first person would convey what's happening. Though again, that could just be nitpicking. I've been picking so many nits, I may as well start a farm. Guess it's time to see if it's gonna be as easy as assumed to cure this thing. Really wish the Aurora units in this game had actual names instead of numbers.
The Aurora unit is corrupted and requires repair.
Yeah, we noticed. Right, let's see what task we have to do down there, and if we have the equipment to do it right now. I certainly wouldn't be surprised if the game decided to pad out this objective some more. Apparently, Gore is no longer on the displays. That's an easy-to-miss change. So we've got bare-bones humanoid drones attacking us to slow us down for a bit. I'm sorry, but I'm getting flashbacks of fighting against battle droids in the Clone Wars. Only the robots on this planet are far less varied than the droids we had to fight against in those Star Wars prequel trilogy games. As busy work goes, this is rather unimpressive, but then I've become an incredibly difficult bastard to impress, so maybe that's just on me. Are we supposed to do something to stop the flow of these drones from marching in here and doing a lackluster job of killing us? Or will they stop on their own after we destroy enough of them? Don't see any more on radar. And the music has ended, so we're done with that fight, such as it was. Right, here's a digital cure for a physical virus for you. Again? Can't that work for a person if it works for a biological computer? Seriously, there was no need for us to have a bullshit cure for Phazon corruption, especially since this is the only time we ever use it. Ah well, that objective is done, so let's see what the local Aurora unit has to say. Well, hello, Gore. I've got to admit, I wasn't expecting to fight you in here.
I'll show you what I mean. Up there!
All I'm seeing is you're not very dangerous to Samus right now. Hell, There's very little excuse for Samus to not kill him now, other than the game designers didn't want this to be how he's finished off. This is not a good showing for him if he wants to be taken as a threat. He is literally only coming across as a speed bump. Not something you should feel like you are in a named boss that the game gives some extra time to help build up sort of situation here. Anyway, the bastards damaged the computers down here in that attack that failed to touch our hero. And again, I feel like Samus should have been at least taken more of an effort to take him down instead of letting him leave so we can use his more combat-capable mech against us later. Just how much later is that boss fight gonna be anyway? Let me check the footage. It's in this same clip. Right, so the only way the big brain can talk to us is if we push a button here. Excuse me for thinking he should have spoken to us the moment we came out of the maintenance hatch.
With AU-242 on Olympus, and learned that a Leviathan impacted Elysia and began spreading corruption.
That's not the only thing that's happened, but I suppose it's all you really need to worry about.
As soon as possible. We have a plan. But Gore's attack severed key communication cables.
Of course it did. Because again, he just wants to stall things out for the sake of it. Why is it that the guy that used a mech to fight feels like a glorified gremlin?
Gore's plasma cannon should be able to fuse together the severed cables.
So, the weapon that broke them is the precise tool to fix them. That seems to be a little illogical, but I suppose we have to roll with it. Have I mentioned Samus should have killed him while we were still down there? Especially since he didn't seem all that combat capable at the time. It would have saved us at least a little bit of time on this clip, grabbing the plasma cutter right then and there as well. Seriously, there had to be a smoother way for us to be given the objective to kill him on this planet, and for him to do a better job seeming menacing before the fight. Gore is a major villain in this game. Granted, he's not the primary enemy of the game, but he and the other two hunters who got infected by Phazon are supposed to be foes we respect. Brundis pulled that off rather admirably. As I said, in all my playthroughs, that's the only one of the three that feels like it gives me any kind of emotional reaction. Gore and Gondreda just didn't do anything for me, and I somehow doubt that me being able to stop and analyze him more carefully is going to do Gore any favors here. Anyway, time to start hunting him down. I'm pretty sure this is the closest thing to actual bounty hunting we've done in this franchise. It's actually kind of funny, really. Right. It's kind of cheating since I memorized where he's going to show up, but then the game's not going to waste any time telling us where he is, and it's not going to have any real sense of urgency, so it's not that much of a problem. Right. Return of the Buzzsaws for no real reason. This exact number will always attack us on this line. I thought this sort of obstacle was supposed to keep us on our toes, but it's... Eesh. I mean, for God's sake, how is it supposed to do that if it's so easy to memorize how many threats are going to pop up in each individual grapple grind point? I know this is supposed to be a machine world, but come on. Make things feel a bit more fluid.
Ship status alert. Unknown entity approaching.
Oh, he's known all right. It's Gore, and excuse me for not giving a damn as he assaults our parked ship. I had the same lack of urgency I had when the bridge was collapsing in the previous clip. It doesn't help that we need to turn on this glorified hamster wheel in order to even try getting back up there. And there's our way out of this room and upwards. Wonder what they're using in the pipes to provide pressure here. Not that it's really important. My knowledge of how doors work ends at around the point where I know how to open and shut them. I just feel mildly curious since I have no idea why some substance or gas would need to be used to help keep a door shut. Definitely feels like there's an upgrade on the left. Again, not feeling any kind of urgency for our ship being in danger. Well, I think this is the first time the ship has been in any danger during gameplay in this franchise. Kind of interesting to think about, considering Sam has had to replace two, one from Zero Mission and the other after Fusion. And even more interesting, I'm just not in any hurry to leave here at all when our ship is currently under attack by the named boss we should be so hyped to deal with. I should probably just give up on getting that upgrade for now. We've got places to go and people to kill. Right, another of the more finicky locks. Again, this wouldn't be too much of an issue on an actual Nintendo Wii, since you'd be able to do things with some level of precision. But I still feel like I have the right to bitch about just how many things the game decided to put in motion control things for the sake of showing off how precise motion control can be with this console. And remember, nobody outside of Nintendo seemed to know how to actually use the motion controls well. So, Anyway, time for more time wasting doing things that have nothing to do with saving our ship that's currently in danger. All to go after something that I'm sure we still can't actually get to at the moment with what we've got. I should have remembered the spider ball track there. But to be fair, we've been practically gift-wrapped plenty of upgrades in this game, with very few of them requiring much in the way of thought or effort to find and reach them. Can you blame my half-asleep mind that's going through the motions for thinking that way? Hell, I'm pretty sure I was mildly drunk for this bit of raw footage, since I kept having trouble just staying on the track we're supposed to speed boost on.
Ship priority status alert. Hull armor taking damage.
Audience status alert. Player is potentially buzzed and definitely not sucked into the experience at the moment. The next major boss is not going to be treated seriously. If anything, I think I'm just gonna mock him at various points in the fight simply because I have no respect for the poor bastard the way he's been portrayed. I just do not feel Gore was executed well at all. Probably should have gotten into the grind grapple thing instead of calibrating the cannon here. I doubt it's even gonna speed things up. It's just something for me to do for the moment. Okay, so it actually did speed up the return to our ship for a bit. Shows what I know. A small bunch of drones to slow us down as we rush to the ship. Oh no, however shall we cope with such insurmountable odds? Perhaps grab another drink? Right, already read that one. It's not that I'm not looking forward to fighting Gore because he's tough or something, I just can't find any enthusiasm for it. And it feels pretty strange to feel this apathetic when things have been happening from one clip to the next. We have had remarkably little dead time in this game, most of which was self-inflicted because I misunderstood something somehow, because I took the game's conveyance and took a different message than what the game designers were going for. This is the fastest paced of the 3 Metroid Prime games that are out at this point. So why am I feeling this much fatigue for the game? A game that I certainly am enjoying. Just not enough to really praise it much that now that I'm going through the commentary after playing through it. Really wish I could scan the orbs or the thing that leaves the orbs behind. Though I think this rail is the only one where you end up seeing that particular obstacle. Wonder why. Okay, not sure what I was trying to do there. Definitely a mistake to pull up the ship's auto controls. Though, why hasn't Samus just ordered the ship to fly away if she actually wants to keep it safe?
Armor damage is critical.
Sorry, but audience interest is not rising. I'm just, barely, holding back the yawns as we head towards the boss fight and wondering if it really counts as padding if they get things out of the way this fast. Seriously, Gore's attempt to slow us down is going to be solved by the next clip, since we're going to gain his gun by the end of this one. Really? The mech isn't shooting at our ship, it just jumped on top and started punching it like the Hulk having a tantrum. This is the bounty hunter who's supposed to be especially good with technology, but I haven't seen him show enough of actually being technically savvy. He's just being a brute. I'm not really sure what I was hoping for from this guy, but yeesh! He just doesn't feel like he's hitting the tropes you'd expect from a man who's more machine than man. I think I have more respect for General Grievous from Star Wars than Gore in this game, and, look at that. Samus got the ship out of there by just tapping the frickin' controls on her arm. I wish I could say that's because she was clever enough to keep it in danger, so she would know where Gore is, but considering she could have easily killed him earlier in this same clip, when he wasn't in his mech but didn't due to poorly executed gameplay storytelling bullshittery, I don't want to give her that much credit. This is just blatantly someone filling out a checklist and not reviewing what they were pumping out well enough to notice that it just doesn't fit together especially smoothly. Okay, that regenerating shield is going to make things troublesome, as are the bits of fuel jelly leaves on the ground. Excuse me for thinking we'd be, essentially done with fuel gel when we were done with Rio, but, I think I've gotten more damaged by the fuel gel than any of his direct attacks. Okay, we've moved on to the next phase. I'm sorry, why did you feel the need to put a police siren light on your blatant weak point? Again, I get that it's Nintendo and they love making weaknesses pretty obvious, but it somehow feels more reasonable with some of the other enemies we've faced in this franchise. I am just getting the sense that Alicia in general was rushed through. A spinning attack. Again, I feel like Grievous did better and he isn't even a Metroid character. Good God, this guy feels like an orc-style brute. I possibly shouldn't be surprised since a name like Gore isn't all that different from something like Gorguts or Grimskull. But again, I don't think that was really intentional. Rundus could get away with seeming a bit stubborn and stupid because he was incapable of talking when we faced him on Rio. A contrast to his core confidence back on Lorien. but Gore seems to have retained his personality when turning evil, speaking to us at the start of the fight and acting less like a man who's been possessed by a demonic alien now horror, and more like he's gotten his money from the other team now. Which means the atmosphere the game is trying to aim for overall is kinda not as strong as they'd probably hope. Well, he's certainly rather relentless for this stage of the fight. He's got that going for him, but I'm not likely to use hyper mode to counter his hyper mode, and his fighting style just doesn't feel like a tech-savvy warrior. This is just a large brute that happens to have infinite ammo, and we faced larger brutes in this very game. Look at that! He knocked me out of the battle area. Too bad for him, this isn't Super Smash Bros. That was his best chance of beating us. Hell, I'm remembering the psychotic Jedi survivor on Raxus Prime from the first Force Unleashed game, as I'm fighting Gore here, and I had more fun to fight against him. His name was Castus Parasis or something like that. The entire planet was a good build-up to fighting him, since the Scrap Guardians showed he was both technically brilliant at making machines work for him, and unhinged since he was trying to protect a facsimile of the Jedi Temple. The Force Unleashed made a throwaway character feel amazing by having him so intricately linked to the environment, what we had to deal with on the way to him, and how we acted when we actually reached him. While Metroid Prime 3 doesn't even know what to do with someone who was supposed to be one of our more major villains, resulting in him feeling like as much of a throwaway boss as the oversized drone we beat in the previous clip to gain the speed booster. There was potential here, but the writers weren't skilled enough to pull it off, and that's probably why other Metroid titles generally stayed away from us getting actual characters in any way to interact with for most of them. Outside of Fusion and Dread, we mostly just have the silent Samus fighting monster after monster, some of which had names, and there was nobody to bounce off of. Gore was not a good character in any way. He needed someone to help elevate him, and unfortunately all he had to interact with was the proverbial wall that is, well, Samus. Anyway, this is about as good a time as any to save. Gore didn't damage anything I give a damn about, and the damage he did do will self-repair without any input from me. Even here, the man had no impact whatsoever.